everybody, and welcome to Every Movie Ever. This is the show where we are trying to review every movie ever made, starting today with Platoon. Now, I don't know if you know this, but the first casualty of war, that's innocence. So here's the deal, gang. I had never seen Platoon. I can't say I don't like war movies. I like a war movie now and again, but I am not a big war movie aficionado, and films about the Vietnam War have never been of particular interest to me. So my knowledge of Platoon largely comes vis-a-vis the game for the NES. Also, if I'm being completely honest with you, not a huge Oliver Stone fan, which again, I'll be honest again. I have not seen a ton of the man's work. It has a little bit more to do with the man himself that I don't care for, but that's the deal. So I'd never seen Platoon, and as we've discussed on this show before, as an avid podcast listener, I've been greatly enjoying the Unspooled podcast, and where they have been watching every movie on the old AFI 100 Greatest Movies list. And I've been using that podcast as an opportunity to check out some of the classics of American cinema that I have overlooked for so long. Because again, as we are doing on the show, the raison d'etre of the show is that we are watching every movie ever, which at long last brings us around to Platoon. So Platoon, what makes it interesting, what I think makes it enduring, and what made it stand out is that it's a really unvarnished look at war. Coming on, I don't know about the heels, but following on a legacy of war films that we can sort of define as the John Wayne era of war films, the sort of macho, war, honorable war, and war as duty kind of thing. You're coming into the 70s and 80s with more cynical looks at war, whether that's in something like Apocalypse Now, which offers this, somewhat surrealist take on the idea of the Vietnam War, or if you're even looking at something like Platoon, which suggests that, which starts to suggest that the idea that the great general was maybe problematic. Platoon, however, is offering a truly realistic and unvarnished look at the war. And I think up until that time in film history, at least as far as a big commercial Hollywood picture had given you, this is your first chance to really see in a movie what the Vietnam War must have been like, informed at least in part by Oliver Stone's own personal appearances there. And I can only imagine that when this movie came out, that must have been something. That must have been truly revelatory. But now, here in 2018, where to make the war is hell movie is almost a cliche in and of itself, Platoon doesn't feel as fresh as it must have felt at the time. Now, that's it. The movie, I also want to talk about how this movie has just an absolutely huge cast. It stars Charlie Sheen, pre-Tiger Blood Charlie Sheen, but also has a ton of terrific performers in it, so that you have people like Keith David in it, and John McGinley is in it. There's a very young Johnny Depp in it. Johnny Drama is in it. So that you have, all of these, especially at the time, I don't know if I want to go so far as unknown, but certainly lesser known, younger Hollywood men starring in the movie. So again, it's not John Wayne, right? These are young guys. Willem Dafoe as well. I'm sorry to try and even talk about Platoon without mentioning the marvelous work done by Willem Dafoe here. As far as the plot goes, this ends up being a movie that's sort of a devil and angel movie, where our protagonist is Charlie Sheen, and on the one shoulder he's got Willem Dafoe, telling him that war is hell, but we have to fight it, according to certain rules, and remember, it is not the fault of the Vietnamese, that we are encountering in villages and stuff that we're here. And then on the other shoulder you have the other guy, I forget the actor's name, but he's got a big scar on his face. And he's saying, yeah, war is hell, and we need to rise to the occasion. It is an interesting movie, although one that I have to confess, I can't say it left me cold, but it didn't have the impact on me I think it would have had contemporaneously. So I am giving Platoon 3.5 stars. And don't forget to visit our website, northmetrotv.com/everymovieever. There, you can watch reviews of every movie we've ever covered here on the show, as well as complete episodes. That's northmetrotv.com/everymovieever.